Okay, so I think about 4 years ago, I went into my OBGYN and I said, "Hey, I have this thing in that area. I have the weirdest form of this cancer. It's in a very rare location." So, I think I'm one of a few people in the world that have it in that region. So I went in and I thought maybe it was like ingrown hair or like a cyst or something. And they brushed it off as if it was nothing and said, it's not going to be anything. It'll go away. It'll go away. Um, a year later, still there. A year later, still there. I mean, it didn't grow massively, but then it kind of became this open sore,
Right,
which then worried me. And I said, "This is weird. It hurts. It's not fun to have anywhere on your body,
right.
especially in that region."
Yeah,
So, um, last year I went and had a hysterectomy for various reasons. I was done having kids, all that fun stuff. It was going to remedy a bunch of issues. And I said to that doctor, I said, "Hey, can you do something about this? I mean, I'm going to be under anyway." And he's like, "Yeah, totally, perfectly fine. We'll just take care of that." Um, Hysterectomy went great. They remedied a bunch of things. I was super healthy afterwards. And it was late September, early October that he called me and said, "Hey, we sent everything off to pathology and up to OHSU," because I lived in Portland at the time. And he said, "Your pathology for your hysterectomy and endometriosis came back perfectly normal, but that thing that we took came back as a really rare form of cancer." And then he spelled out this really long word, which we're all aware of. And then he said, "It's known as EHE." And I maybe have tried to say the real word like twice because it's so long. But he said, "It's nothing to worry about. I have a really great oncologist that I can have you set up with in Portland." And literally the next week, I went in and met with my gynecological oncologist at Compass, Dr. Winters. And he said, "This is probably something we can get rid of completely." And he set up surgery for, I think it was 2 weeks later. In the very, very beginning, where I was really worried because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how it would react to the surgery. I didn't know if I'd have to have chemo or radiation. And especially in such a weird area, you're like, it's going to happen down there. But I think knowing now that there's so much good things happening and there's so much more research going on, I feel good. And anyone that, I'm part of all these Facebook groups on here, not just the EHE Facebook group, but there are like vulvar cancer groups that I'm part of. And there was a woman who posted, "Hey, I have this really weird thing." It kind of was textbook what I was dealing with several years ago. And I messaged her separately and I said, "Hey, this is what I have gone through. This is what I had to do. I had to advocate for myself because even though I had female doctors, my OBGYN was a female doctor. She, was there for me through both of my pregnancies and C-sections and all that. I had to advocate for myself. I had to say, this didn't feel right. This still doesn't feel right. I still feel like something's wrong." And I had to go to another doctor to get it taken care of. So it's been almost over a year, a little over a year that I've been diagnosed with this. I had a complete vulvectomy with lymph node incision or whatever the lymph node surgery is called, to make sure that it wasn't in there. And that was like the first part of November was my surgery for that. And he thought it went really well. And then when the pathology came back for that, it said, "We didn't get it all and your lymph nodes involved." So they staged it at stage 3 and they don't think they can get everything out. So it's kind of a wait and watch. I've had 2 rounds of the wait and watch every 4 months, CT scans, MRIs, full body scans, just to make sure it hasn't jumped anywhere since it likes to live in other places. And they've come back just not normal, but it's there. It's hanging out. It hasn't grown. It hasn't changed how it is living in my body, which is great. It has been weird looking normal, acting normal, being able to do everyday things. I mean, I have the Little Words Just Live. I made a Just Live bracelet from
I
Little
love
Words
that.
on their website. And there's a store here now in Nashville where their store where you can make that bracelet. So my daughter wants one, but I had someone ask me, "Oh, what's that bracelet say?" So I told them and they're like, "Oh, what's that cancer?" And I said, "Well, it's different in everybody. It reacts different in everybody. It could be dormant for years like mine was and then show its ugly head." And then they're like, "Oh, you don't look like you have cancer." I'm like, "I know. Isn't that great?" Some of us can look like we have it. I mean, depending
I
on
know.
what it is and what point of treatment you're at.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like the silent, no one knows you have it unless they know you have it.
Yeah.
Most of my friends have been really, really encouraging and supportive. I'd say all my friends have been. I haven't had any friends that have been weird, but it's more like the outsiders who don't know me that well are like, "Wait a minute, she has cancer. She's, working out. She's active in her kid's life. She looks
Yes.
healthy, doing everyday things. I don't look sick at all. I don't act sick because I'm not sick." I immediately found the EHE group on Facebook and joined it, which lifesaver, like calmed all of my fears immediately. The people in there just come to your rescue, and there's a lot of info you get day one. Day one is like, woo, overload.
Yeah.
But just you take your time, like, and just look through it. And I didn't know some of those doctors I would end up meeting on the doctors list.
Mhm.
Um, and I have now. They're my care team here. But there's a ton of information. There's a ton of people that will, come up beside you and pray for you, talk to you. So it feels not just like a Facebook group, there's a family, there's a whole group that will come beside you and help you. And if you have any questions, even if they're super weird, um, I feel super, super blessed to have that group there at my fingertips. I mean, get plugged in with the group. That was such a comfort to know that there are other people out there and it's not just, you're Googling things and hoping, oh my gosh, someone's going to tell me something. More than likely, someone in the EHE Facebook group has what you have
Mhm.
um, in the location you have it, even if it's super, super rare. Tons and tons of information from them and get connected in there and just, advocate for yourself. You're not alone. We're all in this together. It's a weird little family. It is different in everybody.
Yeah.
It reacts different in everybody. It could, you know, be totally fine for 10 years and then you just have to get something removed easily. It could not. It could be totally different and you could
Yeah.
be riddled with tumors like some that we know. And, you might have to fight every single day of your life to feel good.
Mhm.
But it could also be best case scenario like I have, which
Yeah.
I feel super, super lucky. It's not cut and dry like other cancers, but I feel like we have such a great support group and great doctors working on care for us that I feel really hopeful for anyone else who has to go through this like I have.